Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.
As humanity has been on the path of embracing diversity, one last minority is still unrecognized. Experiencers. These are the contactees, abductees, eyewitnesses, and researchers of the UFO phenomenon, paradimensional realms, and contact with other intelligences. Could it be that some protocol, some map, has been created by our visitors to integrate humanity into Paradigm Galactic? Could this be the experiencer path to disclosure? Welcome to Aquarian Radio, Friday night, with Janet Kira Lessin, Karen Christine Patrick, and the Reverend John Polk, and guests on the experiencer path.
Hello, this is Karen Christine Patrick. Welcome to the Experiencer Path. We got to the beginning of the normal show time, and we didn't quite have our guest thing pulled together, but it looks like we have Janet and our guest. Hello, Janet. Are you with us? Hello, Janet.
Hi. Yes, I'm here, and John is coming on. And
oh, great.
We were unable to secure our guest. But you know what? We'll just do a nice catch-up show, and we'll make it short and sweet, but we'll still get down some basics of what's going on right now in the world, especially in the world.
Let me bring John on because I know that he's waiting. He's got something going on at his house. Hello, John.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, I'm in a constant state of flux. You know, every time I breathe in and breathe out, I'm recycling the universe, and it's been really crazy. My girlfriend and I, you know, that whole thing, and, you know, I'm moving to Arizona, and she has chose to be with me through this time period, and I gave her every option out, and she didn't want to do that, so it's been beautiful and painful and at the same time, and it's a cathartic time sequence within the multiple timelines that affect us all in the Matrix.
Have you, John, even talked about what's going on with you in terms of, like, what's going on with the show and what's going on? Have you had a chance to really do that? I know you mentioned that you sold your house last time. That's about as far as we got.
Well, actually, I haven't. I had to get it ready to get sold. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm a horrible pack rat, and so is my mom. And my dad, and they give me all the hand-me-downs, so I get all the hand-me-down pack rat stuff. And so it's like, you know, what do you sell? What do you throw away? You know, and then family lineage, stuff like that. You know, it's like, God, can I throw this away or not? I'm going to feel guilty about it. and I'm reducing myself to...
I had to downsize. I got a suggestion.
Yeah.
If you don't think you want to keep it, take a picture. Take a picture. There you go.
I think that's the most astute observation yet tonight. So.
Okay, good. But yeah, I know that you're going through some flux. I know that we talked about your arrangements here on the show just so that people know what potentially is going on. So, because you're very well beloved.
Let's just share one thing. My sister got the family home. It's been in our family since 1901. She went up in the attic and she found hair. Literally, there was a board, and all the ancestors put a little piece of their hair. There was about 30 of them on a board we could clone everybody. And it started in the 1840s or something, and they had it for, years, many generations. And it's like, well, what do you throw away? Do you throw away this hair? But she's keeping it, and isn't it weird what you find when you have the family?
No, that was a thing. That they saved hair. They made things out of hair. That was one of the my weird turns in history. If you go to museums, sometimes you'll see lockets of hair. I've never heard of a board with 30 snippets of hair on it. That's pretty strange.
I've never seen it, but my sister called me with it when she found. She goes, "Oh, you won't believe what I found up in the attic." And I go, "Sure, what?" She goes, "Hair from all the ancestors, all relatives." So, well, we have to keep the hair. Come on, this is our family members. I think we could send it to Ancestry.com, and they do the DNA, and we track ourselves back to Adam and Eve. I feel for you. That's why I don't ever want to leave this house. I said, God, just let me go up feet first, and then whoever gets it will come in. And you know what they'll do? They'll just take a bunch of dumpsters. They'll bring them, drop on the property, and they'll take all of our history, Janet and Sasha, and this house that's been in the family for 40 years, all go in the dumpster, and then we'll be gone. Nobody care. I don't think any museum is coming for Janet and Sasha's belongings to put in the museum. So, oh well.
But you know what? I'm going to take my museum with me because my mom has given me all these artifacts, like copper. Get this, copper pyramids. I mean, who made copper pyramids? And my mom found this artist that fashions these copper and other metal alloy, spiritual stone kind of pyramids, and kind of like the whole Jeffrey, what's his name, Jeffrey Boyd, who came up with the whole concept of the stones of the Egyptian pyramids are all composites with crystal quartz mixed into the whole mixture. And she makes pyramids out of this stuff and gives it to me and makes me put it in my car and put it in my house. And there's something spiritual to it, and I can feel it.
Wow. So, car, are you going to get a big van or truck, or what are you going to do?
My dad gave me a big truck. He just gave it to me. And
wow.
It shocked me, really. Yeah. He just gave it to me, and I'm going to drive out west with it and stick everything I can into it, and no furniture. I'm just going to start over again.
Well,
I've done that a couple times. Come and see us in Berlin, New Mexico, John.
Is that on the way or out of the way?
Yeah, that's on the way to Sedona.
How far are you away from I-10?
I-10. It's south of us. You go south from here, and it drops down to 10 pretty nicely.
But how far? How far from 10?
Oh man, you're asking me distances, man. I'd have to look. We'll talk after the show. We'll talk.
Okay, all right.
But you gotta stop on the way. You have a free stop on the way, but you probably just want to get to Sedona. It's not that far.
No, but if you're north of I-10, so is Sedona. So I don't have to take I-10 the whole way. I'm sure there's another way to go west from where you live in Berlin that would be more time efficient than driving
I-40.
south.
We're close to I-40.
Well, there you go. Okay, there you go. All right, rock on.
Come see us.
Rock on.
Yes.
Well, I know we talked about your history with the show here. What's your plan? Because I know moving is horrible. My grandmother insisted that there should be a Hallmark card line. So sorry to hear about your move. She says you have to touch every item you own, and it's horrible. So I know you're going through the throes of that, and I know you're taking some time off of radio. So I just want people to know that
I am.
That's what you're. Yeah, if you don't are with us, that's kind of what happened.
Exactly. as much as I can possibly be, I've been loyal to Aquarian Radio because Aquarian Radio gave me my start. I would be nothing in, internet radio podcasting, and I hate the term podcasting because we're not podcasters. We are entertainment personalities in this field, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? And but without Aquarian Radio, and Karen turned me on to Janet, and Janet was on a hiatus herself at the time, and then, ramped it back up again 4 or 5+ days a week, and it was important to her. It still is. It's a passion. It drives us, and, we don't make any money off this stuff, so it's like,
All those guys that say we're in it for the money, I'm like, well, where's that accruing somewhere,
We do this because we care, and it's important to us, and if anybody can't understand that, we love you anyway. So there you go.
Well, the payoff is when people say, wow, what you said on that show, or, saw you at a conference, or whatever it is, and they say, you changed my life. That was like, monumental. I woke up, I heard something, and I'm getting more and more of that. It's not always necessarily me. It could be a guest that I'm interviewing, or a concept, or, something. But we're like lighting those little candles. You spread the light and you light one, and then they turn around and light the other, and we're waking up. We didn't start this. We're in the chain of consciousness that we don't even remember who started it, but it feels really good that we're making a positive change for this world. And I refuse to go down into that dark abyss that a lot of people do, with doom and gloom, and we're all done for. We're not done for. We're still alive and breathing. And John, you get to touch everything you own and make a decision. Do I keep this? Do I get rid of it? And getting rid of it can be fun. Yeah. You've got time. You can. It's a nice weather out there. Do some yard sales. Make some money on it. Garage sales or whatever you do in that part of the world. Do you have garage sales where you live?
I've been doing a lot of Craigslist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm a DJ, karaoke guy, singer, mass media entertainer, wannabe, whatever I've been told. But I enjoy what I do. And I sold a bunch of lights today off Craigslist. Lights I'm not going to use and that I would end up throwing away if I moved away from here without selling them. And I didn't make a whole lot of money off of them, but who really cares, I just want to purge, and I can feel, how sometimes the clutter energy, and I know, ladies, you understand that. You got to
I do.
You got to rid the homestead of the clutter, because it clutters your spirit also, right? And I needed it, and I've been doing it. And so purging, the spirit of this property also with all this hand-me-down stuff, because both of my parents are pack rats and hand me down all the pack rat stuff. And so now I'm getting rid of all of it. And anyway, it's a good purging, cleansing event in my life right now.
I think it's exciting. I actually have started getting rid of stuff. I live in a house that I inherited from other people who lived here. Boy, there's stuff. I find things that guests will come to my house and they'll hide a bag or something, because we're here in Maui, and they like to come back and forth, and I'll go up in the attic, and I'll pull out something, and what's this? And that's from Judy, and there's some people who, like Robert, he died, and we found his backpack. Like, well, Robert, you're not coming back for your stuff. What did you leave us? So it's funny what people will hide in your house, especially when you have a big house like this. Like they go under the house. And, oh my God!
Under the house, they put stuff under your house. Really?
There's crawl space in the house, and we'll be down there looking at something else, and you'll see a little coopy hole. The house is built on like the side of a mountain, so you don't go down there all the time, especially the big buyers now, right? But sometimes you go down there and maybe look for something, a tool that's missing or a rake or something. That's where they tended to store stuff for years under the house. So I don't go there anymore, but sometimes one of my workers that I hire said, look at this stuff. What's this? Anyway, it's hilarious what you find. It's like my sister found hair from the 1840s, so you never know. They find something very...
Hair? The 1840s.
Yeah, hair.
Yeah, the hair board with 30 pieces of hair. But we also found my love letters from World War II. That was precious. Oh my goodness. Found the found Marilyn Monroe on the cover of Life and the Beatles and all that. They were worth some money, but my sister sold them. She got all the money. Like, no, I want the Beatles. Don't sell that to something. Anyway, that's what happens. So are you the only child?
No, I have a brother who is 45. I'll be 48 this month, and I have a sister who is 20, who will be 21. Yeah, in September. She's adopted, second marriage, and she's one of my best friends. Actually, she's really cool. And it's funny, she's 20, and I start, spinning the whole alien thing at her, and she wasn't really sure about it. But the more I talked to her about it, the more it made sense to her. And then she started asking me questions that I could not answer. I'm like, I can usually answer everything, I'm like, wow, she's good.
What did she ask
so
that you couldn't answer?
Some of the definitive multidimensional questions, like, so who or what am I on the 6th, 7th, 8th dimension? And I'm like, well, I can only speculate. I don't exactly know. So she got that deep, and she's only 20 years old. I started spinning, the quantum-hologram matrix, name of my show, and she immediately understood it. And most people, and believe it or not, Janet, I don't know if you know this or not, but you coined that term first, and I stole it from you, or I didn't steal it from you, but I took it from you. You said quantum hologram matrix before I ever did.
Oh, I did.
You did. I've said it before, maybe forgot, but you named my show, and I took the name because it was that good. But I will give you credit for it forever.
I feel honored that you took what came out of my mouth. Sometimes I have other, like, extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, coming through me and giving me this information. So that was great. That was a piece for you, the quantum hologram matrix. Cool.
Wasn't that cool?
Oh, okay.
Hey, ladies, I'm so sorry. I need to break away. These guys are.
Yep.
They need my attention now.
We knew we had you for a few minutes, so we'll see you around the universe, John.
And Karen did not talk, so she knew.
Oh, I know. I was letting you talk because I knew you had to go. So
I love you. I love you, my ladies. So
we
let
love
me let you go.
Love you, John. Bye.
All right. Bye.
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 All right. Bye. Take care. Say hi to
bye,
your
ladies.
Bye.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So he's off on a new adventure. I don't know if he got clearly decided, but he is taking a break off of all radio altogether while he relocates, and he's really brave what he's doing. His business wasn't doing what he wanted, so he's not going to do that anymore. He has really expanded and made so many wonderful contacts over the years with all kinds of individuals. He's been going to conferences and meeting people and really leaving an impression with people. And so he's off on an adventure. We don't know where he'll turn up next, but he's a talented guy, and he has a voice for radio for sure. That's what I said when I first talked to him. I said, you should be on radio. You sound like you've got the voice for it. And he was doing karaoke stuff, so he had that announcery kind of voice to introduce people, the next karaoke singer in his business. So I think he's going places and going to do some cool stuff, and we have a forever friend, right?
Well, most certainly. And looking over the calendar, some of the things that John was going to do, I'm going to have to fill in the blanks. So you want to talk about the calendar. But we just got done with a very exciting monumental weekend, which was the 70th anniversary of Roswell. And saying it's the official day that the quote-unquote crash happened.
Oh, man. Now you're asking me dates, and I have number dyslexia, so I think it actually is today. I actually think it was the 7th. Either the 7th or the 9th, one of those 2 dates.
Well, I think it's the 7th because I have an ex-boyfriend, and happy birthday, Ed, who said that, I was born on the anniversary of the Roswell crash. And,
so it was his fault. Maybe he crash landed with the whole thing. Maybe he came into the planet. Maybe he's one of them. I don't know. No, it was the 7th. Yeah, it was the 7th. 70 years ago today. Yes.
Yeah, so no, he was born on the day of the Roswell crash. That's what he said.
Oh, how about that? That's like being born on Halley's Comet Day or something. That's amazing.
My brother's age. My brother's 70, so he was born on that crash. So he said, "That's my birthday, the anniversary of Roswell."
Well, they found 3 dead alien bodies. Like I said, maybe he incarnated. Is he kind of an unusual guy?
Very, very. I liked him. I like unusual men. Yeah, he was.
Unusual people, yes. It was. Of course, they had the actual celebration in Roswell is whatever 4th of July weekend, whenever that is. So they usually have it before the day. So it was amazing. Brett, my partner, got an invitation to go with Ken Johnston to Dulce Base, and they made the Dulce Base conference the same weekend as Roswell, so we were kind of had to split the difference. So he went to Dulce, and Brett has a daughter named Cheyenne. We had a friend that was going to go with us, but they had a funeral in the family, so she couldn't go. So me and Cheyenne had a girls' trip. So we took off, got into town Friday, kind of late, so we didn't figure I wanted a good solid day driving there. I never know how long it's going to take me to drive somewhere. That's the furthest, longest I've driven since I got over my infection and could drive. So that was good for me to drive that much and reconquer my ability to drive long distances, which is awesome. And the following day, we actually didn't go to the museum. We went to Roswell is a zoo anyway, but on the 70th anniversary, it has so many activities, it blows your mind. The basic activities was the main conference, there was a main conference that they have every year at the Roswell Museum, and we worked with Ken Johnston. He had a table last year, so we got to know some of these people, really wonderful people. They had another conference that had some, your mainliner, headliner type people, Linda Moulton Howe, Nick Pope, and Richard Dolan, which was over at a hotel, and that one was put on, I believe, by the Roswell Daily Record, the newspaper, and I didn't even make it over there. I was so busy with everything else. Didn't even make it over there. Didn't have time. They also had Galacticon, which was a comics book festival, and I had a very young person with me, so of course we had to go to that first. So Saturday we went to Galacticon, and that was cool. They had a vendor's room. It was very hot in Roswell, and the air conditioning broke. So you had all these people in costumes from comic books and from movies, and they were kind of melting, like their makeup was melting, and they had Some of them had full leather armor, and oh my gosh! But they were troopers. They were doing that thing, and that was a lot of fun. Seeing the creativity of people are just astounding. How they're able to do cosplay and reproduce a costume from their favorite character from a movie or a comic book or something or a video game. I was just blown away. I used to do costume design, so I was really blown away by how creative people were. And they had a very strong steampunk presence there, which was great because I was also shopping for birthday gifts because all my kids are born in July. So I have this one guy, my oldest son, who is in a steampunk band. So it's like, I found the perfect thing for him, which is kind of like a necklace that looked like watch parts, which is real popular with steampunk. My daughter has her birthday this month, too, and I was getting her, she likes Roswell stuff, so I was getting her all kinds of pictures of aliens and a T-shirt and all that kind of stuff. And that was a lot of fun. And then they had there was so much going on, it was like a 5-ring circus, okay? They had a science fiction movie festival I didn't have 2 minutes to even go look at. I did the next door to the vendor room at Galacticon was the debunker circle. This is the people who kind of don't believe an alien ship crashed at this in Roswell. They have alternative theories, and I listened to them. I was in there probably about a half hour, and then I was kind of done with that. Okay, no, I listened to someone, I won't say who, but the argument he was making at the time I was listening was that the Roswell witnesses suffered from some form of false memory syndrome. So he was talking about, how they were seeing things and they were misled or their memory was confused or how we can't trust memory. And I want to make a statement right here if I haven't said it before, but false memory syndrome was designed by the government to shoot down witnesses of all kinds of things, and in particular was developed to be a defense for high-level pedophiles. Of course, people know about the whole pedophile, PedoNet, and Pizzagate and all that. They created false memory syndrome to shoot down the testimony of the, victims against the perpetrators in court. So, it's kind of this specious, argument because false memory syndrome was a counter to suppressed memory syndrome. And a lot of people, John famously says you get alien anesthesia if you get abducted. So the memory doesn't come back right away. It comes back in bits and pieces. That's an effect of suppressed memory syndrome. And at the same time that they started having suppressed memory syndrome be admissible in court as a brand new case. So let's say 20 years ago there was a person who was molested, and then they don't remember it, though, because they suppressed it because they were a little kid, and then they remember it 20 years later. They could come back and talk to the prosecutor, and the attorney general would go after the pedophile because based on new allegations. In other words, the person didn't remember for 20 years. Well, this was devastating to the cause of, criminals, and so basically they had to come up with this false memory syndrome was developed specifically for that. And as a syndrome, it's not one of those things that they're going to have a telethon for or raise money, or there's no support groups for false memory syndrome. It's not like a regular syndrome where you actually have people who have it and are concerned about it. It's the only sole, as far as I can tell, the only sole reason it exists is to provide expert testimony who will counteract the memory of somebody, and they used it very, very effectively if anybody watches The Keepers, that is a movie or it's a miniseries on Netflix. They show an example of the use of false memory syndrome to counteract repressed memory syndrome in the case of 2 witnesses against a pedophile priest. So that they got to come up with better arguments than that. Of course, I did not give them very much time because I got disgusted and left. And so I was like, okay, is that all you got? I've heard all this before, so I left that event. And then the next day we actually were able to devote the whole day from the morning all the way till 8 at night. I mean Sunday, right? All the way till 8 in the evening. They had speakers and panelists and all kinds of things at the Roswell Museum. And if I recommend if you want something fun to do with the family, it was like $5 to get in, and you got to get a little sticker and go in as multiple times if you wanted to. So we could leave, go eat dinner, and come back. I think that's very reasonable. And then they have a festival down in the downtown core of, they block off several blocks of the main street, and they had T-shirt sales and games and stuff for the kids. They could color their own alien or whatever, and they had big water slides. And as a family event, I'm really stunned at what a fun family event that was. And then they had a nighttime parade, a lights parade. So basically it was nighttime, and then they had their floats were lit up with lights. And my favorite one, probably everybody's favorite one, was the bagpipes. So you could hear them in the dark, right? And then they had lights tied to them. So it was like bagpipes going back away in the dark. You can't make an Irish or Celtic person any prouder. But it was a lot of fun. And the floats were kind of weird, as you can imagine. 2 of them featured alien autopsy. So they had like a alien and incubator, and there's people in hazmat suits like operating on the person. And they should have been throwing candy out of it, though. I thought that'd be kind of funny. But I'm a person who's not that serious. I think that the way people process information as human beings, we have to have some fun with it too. We can't just be investigating the serious side all the time. We have to engage it in different ways, and so science fiction, art, all kinds of different ways. And when you go to the museum, and I recommend people do it, it is open year-round, and it's really good. I've been there a couple times. I always see something new. And I remember last year I was where my table was that we were helping Ken Johnston. I was sitting right across the way, staring all day long at the Betty and Barney Hill exhibit. So there was like a wall of Betty and Barney Hill information, and I'm looking, and I realize I'm looking at Kathleen Martin's picture as a young person. And what it was the Betty and Barney Hill case was so popular that somewhere when the press caught on to the story, they literally went to her they crashed her graduation party for her graduation of high school and took pictures for Look magazine. So there was a picture of Kathleen, and then I realized she was behind me. Like Kathleen, the Kathleen Martin was on the other side of the room sitting by Stanton Friedman last year. I go, I've been staring at you and didn't realize it was you for like a couple of days. She laughed, and I got to say hello to her this time, and I gave her a copy of my books, and she knew John. He says, you know John? I go, oh, yeah, I know John, and John Polk. And then also I got a nice, one of the things I did was run around and interview people for a couple minutes, and so I'm going to jam all that together, and I have a lot of cool pictures, and I'm compiling all that to put it on a post on aquarianradio.com. So watch for that as I get that put together. But also, probably my favorite speaker was Peter Robbins, well known as an investigator for the Rendlesham Forest incident, and he spoke on the history of the ridicule, and it was awesome. He used to work in the New York Times morgue, which is basically where all the dead newspapers live, and he used to what he did for a project one time is go, well, what was the New York Times, the biggest, paper of record, saying about the Roswell crash at the time? Everyone has seen that famous newspaper headline from the Roswell Daily Record, and then, of course, later on the fake picture of the fake weather balloon. But he went, and it was fascinating because they got the word, from the government, you'd better follow our lead that this is a crashed weather balloon and that this is all silly, or you're going to be in trouble. And so they were, basically the language that they were using and everything was very dismissive. And they were basically able to quell the Roswell story within 6 weeks by just, the way that they wrote the articles. They made it sound like the people were crazy who saw it, all these rumors, and just the way that the language was. And he showed the headlines in some of the articles, what the headlines were and what they were, the language that they were using, And so, when people ask me, like last year, we're like 3/4 of the way around the room. So the exhibits are on the outside, and the vendor tables and speakers are on the inside, and everyone goes around in a circle or kind of in between. And this man went all the way around 3/4 of the way. He was from Pakistan, and he leaned over the table and he said, "What is this all about Roswell? We've never heard of it in our country, you know." And I had to think for a minute, and I go, well, it's the most obvious beginning of the cover-up, because it really was such a clear. We found a flying saucer, and it was 2 days later, it was a weather balloon thing. It was such a black and white, reversal. And the beginning of the cover-up, and literally a lot of things happened after the Roswell crash. In terms of they started doing the National Security Act. There was a whole bunch of things that happened because of the crash, and of course I got a chance to see James Clarkson and his wife. I'm really good friends with them from Washington State. He's the former director of MUFON in Washington State. And I have an hour recording of him and Peter Robbins, and I'm going to put into a podcast and put it on Aquarian Radio. So that's coming. But he read into his book. One of his books is called Tell My Story, the story of June Crane, who was a witness to the Roswell incident, in that she was a secretary living at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, when all the debris came in, right? And basically, she heard all about the stories of the bodies, and she was able to handle the wreckage foil, that was very famous. You couldn't cut it, you couldn't bend it or fold it or tear it or anything. And she basically, had a security oath, so she kept her security oath. And then at the 50th, so 20 years ago, the 50th anniversary of the Roswell crash, they did some kind of documentary that was Roswell Case Closed, and it basically just said that it was a weather balloon with some dummies attached. And she got really angry because she was the last remaining living member of because she was the youngest, of the parachute division, the development of parachutes in World War II. And this is kind of gruesome, but she says they didn't use dummies, they actually used people. They used convicted convicts and volunteers to jump out of planes with these newfangled parachutes. And if they didn't make it, they had a living human to say, okay, unfortunately, to do a forensic exam of and to say what failed on the parachute. So basically, she got angry and she wanted to tell her story, but what clinched it was that she got cancer and she knew she was dying, so it was like a deathbed confession. And she brought James Clarkson he was a police officer, but he was interested in UFOs, and he got a lot of flack for it, of course, being teased, for that. But she basically was willing to give her whole testimony of what happened, and then he put it up in a book called Tell My Story. And I believe you can get it at jamesclarksonufo.com, but don't quote me on that. If you put Tell My Story, the June Crane story, James Clarkson, you should be able to find it. It's a wonderful book. I had to get a second copy because I loaned my copy last year to a friend, and she started reading it. We were visiting her house in Utah, and she started to read it. I couldn't get it away from her, so it's like I had to leave it. And I just got another copy this year, and I just loaned it out again. So it's like I love that book a lot. But, yeah, it was really fun to
James
Sure.
Clarkson. Is he dead or alive or wait?
No, he's very much alive, and he did a speech at the
Can you get him for our show?
Yeah, we've interviewed him before, but yeah, we can definitely get him back on. And we interviewed him late last year, I think. Oh, you'd have to look.
I thought what I've done.
You have interviewed so many people. You can. Brad and I have been going through a bunch of your material to kind of help do a backup, and we're just stunned at how much work you and Sasha have done. It's incredible. But yeah, it was a good meeting, and there was a great panel discussion. I wrote lots of notes, and I recommend anybody go. They'll have it next year, and hopefully between now and next year it's disclosure, right? But what I loved about what Stanton Friedman said, he said that there's been record attendance at the museum, record attendance at the various speeches that were happening. Not at the debunkers one, just saying. But also that that they've been doing polls, and like now 85% of the people believe that maybe UFOs, there's reality to it. And he says he was really encouraged at how far we've come since all these years. So that was a great statement.
Wow. Well, I was just talking to Peter Robbins, and I got him for one show. He's very busy, but I'm going to get him on this show.
Great.
I got him for, he's booked a couple months in advance, but I will be pulling him on. And I can't wait. I love Peter.
Oh, he was so good. He's such a well-spoken person, and I saw two of his speeches. They had him at a kind of a rotten time, Thursday morning at 10, not at the museum. It was at the visitor center. And so there was just a handful of us, but we enjoyed it and asked lots of questions, and I didn't think to record that one, but I asked him the second time. I said, can I please record it, because it's too bad nobody was here the first time, And he let me put my phone has my recording app up on the podium, and hopefully I'm going to be going through it and make sure it was, but it should be fairly good quality. It was excellent. And, it's just, I couldn't recommend it enough to people for something to do on 4th of July weekend. It was interesting. A lot of people talking to us last year were coming through there on their way to, their family's house for the 4th of July holiday, and they were just stopping there out of curiosity and didn't realize all that stuff was there. The other thing people might want to check out is they have a library in there of just a whole entire library full of only UFO books, and that's, if you think it's a small topic, just walk in that library and see all those books. It's like the size of a small civic library, like a small town would have, and it's just the UFO topic. So there's not just a few cases. There's quite a bit of material, and being a library of a file, I could sit there, I could go there every day if it wasn't 3 hours away from where I live, and just sit in the library. But also researchers can go there. It's a really great resource for somebody writing a book or doing a case or something. There's books there that are out of print, hard to find. It's great. It's a really great option.
So did you give them a copy of your books for the library?
No, I did find out about it. They were just too busy. The staff there is just crazy busy with all the activity, as well as taking care of the speakers and putting on breakfast and a dinner. And they just treat the speakers really, really well. So there wasn't any time, but I did get a chance to talk to one of the staff, or actually Jim Hill, the director. Saw him for 2 minutes, and I just said, what do I need to do? And he told me what to do. So we're going to head back over there sometime, I don't know when, to visit and bring our books, or we might just send them, depending on how they want them, But it's in my neighborhood, basically. It's about there's a lot of construction on that highway, so it's like about a 4-hour drive, really. Very pleasant, very beautiful part of New Mexico. There's we literally go through, we stopped at some of the visitor centers. There's lots of there's lots of desert wildflowers you can go to. There's a place called the Valley of the Fires, which is a large lava outcropping from some lava event that didn't become a volcano, so there's so much lava out there. So we had a lot of fun. We made a vacation out of it, and this time I wasn't glued to a table. I could wander around and see stuff. It was a lot better. Had a good time. Oh, wow. Brett had a good time too. Do you want me to tell you what happened to Brett and Ken?
What happened to Brett? Yes.
They went to the Dulce conference. I believe it's either the second or the third. Don't quote me on that. And it's the famous Archuleta Mesa Dulce story is what's kind of the background of that, and it's put on by the Apache people there, and they put it on at the casino, one of the casinos. This is an event for the casino to bring in people, and they brought in a really great roster of people. I couldn't even tell you who all was there speaking. Except for one guy that was a Bigfoot guy. So Brett was telling me all about his great pictures of Bigfoot. And it was so broad spectrum paranormal, And it was, Ken spoke about his story of having the Apollo images, and they let Brett talk for a few minutes about our work with Ken, and we almost got on that speaker's docket. It almost happened. We're going to find out if they want us next year. But we begged them, please don't have it. A lot of people did. Please don't have it the same weekend as Roswell. It makes it difficult. And one of the speakers for both of those was Travis Walton, I believe, made both of those. So he was really stretched thin. So they said they're going to have it on a different weekend. Thank God. So, those of us who love this topic, it's there's not a lot of opportunities for us here in New Mexico to have events at all. So if they get two big ones jammed on the same weekend, it's really difficult for people. And those two places are that close together. So yeah, in fact they're in opposite directions almost. So yeah, they're gonna have it on a different weekend, and that has us having several really interesting events just here in New Mexico. So New Mexico, yeah, it's the place to be. There's all kinds. The people here culturally all have their story. They love to tell us because they know we'll listen. But if you say, "Oh, I write books about UFOs," you don't get the weird, what I call Easter Island statue face, blank stare. You get an actual look of comprehension, and people think, "Oh, that's really great," and then they ask me questions, and I love New Mexico for that. It's because it's got a history of the whole UFO thing in it, and everybody knows about it, and they've made a festival out of it, right? It's culturally accepted more than other places that I've lived, so it's nice.
That's always a breath of fresh air when you don't have to start at the beginning, explain it. You kind of begin in the middle and take off and go beyond with anything you want to discuss. So that had to be a relief. So that's exciting.
It is.
I wish I could go on, but you can't go to everything. So.
I know. Well, I know you're going to the MUFON Symposium in Nevada. When is that?
That is. Let me get the dates. We are going on the. It begins on the 20th of July, and there's a lot of people, a lot of things related to members, and so I don't think we're going to do much on that, but we are coming in early, the 17th to Vegas, and we're going to do some work with private clients, so if anybody's interested in a hypnosis session, you can give us a call or email on aquarianradio@gmail.com or 808-214-3442 and schedule a hypnosis session in Vegas. We're also going to be doing a group hypnosis class where experiencers and contactees, people who have gone through paranormal events and all kinds of good things can be regressed and facilitated by a bunch of professionals. Dr. Lessin and I and Misha Johnson are going to be the primary facilitators, but there are other hypnotherapists there. And then on the 20th, there's the, it's not the MUFON group, it's the UFO, like a UFO group, a UFO meetup group. We're going to be meeting at a restaurant, and all these are up on my, Experiencers Network or Extraterrestrial Contact Facebook group or page. So you can go and look at the information. There's a meetup link. You can click and say, yes, you're coming, and you'll get the information about the address. And then the weekend is this MUFON Symposium. And let me pull up the website on that one. There we go. I saw this lineup, and I said, I have to go. And that was months ago. And so I set my intention, and got my tickets, and started telling all my friends, and now we've got 3 or 4 tables all in a row. The speakers are Richard Dolan, Mark McCandless is going to be, which one's coming in? Michael Schratt, Michael Sala, William Tompkins, Corey Good. Oh, Gary McKinnon is going to, he can't come, but he's going to Skype in. John Brandenburg, Ph.D., Cheryl Jones, James Woodard, Ph.D., Bob Wood, Ph.D., Andrew Bashago, who's an attorney, and Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Also, they're going to do some experiencer events. Let's see what they special events, workshops for experiencers, and let me pull up that link. There'll be, 7:30, 8:30, an hour and a half. They are facilitated by Kathleen Marden and Dr. George Medic, Medich. So there's 2 of those. Let's see, on a Saturday and Sunday in the morning. You have to be an early riser for those, 7:30 a.m. But Kathleen's a very good facilitator, so I'm sure these are going to be good sessions. And then they have panels, panel discussions, and they're going to be very interesting. There's one with Mark McCandless, Michael Schratz, Robert Woods, John Brandenburg, and Debbie Ziegelmeyer. And that's panel number 1 on Saturday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And another panel is my friend Annie Bashago and Corey Good, Richard Dolan, Michael Sala, and William Tompkins. That is going to be phenomenal.
He's in his 90s, so you got to catch him now, because man, his book. I'm just at the start of his book too, and it's fantastic.
Yes, it's a very good, and he's got another one in the works. When I was at Contact in the Desert, I talked to a couple people that were working on his second book, and then Michael Sala is going to work on a third book. So William Tompkins is hot. So make sure you get to the MUFON, sign up for our events. Like I said, they're on Meetup. Let me see where I have them. I'm going to go to my Facebook. I just got done putting them up. I have a lot more work to do, and I never have time for doing all this networking. My life is just so busy.
I suddenly had a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to bring to this audience and realized it was like a stack. So when I came home, I had so many things to do because, I missed a week. I do a lot on the weekends for our family stuff, so I feel I had a nice vacation, but I came back to a stack of work, But I'm excited to do it because it was really good. This is really good stuff that we're plugging into and able to contact with. And what's important about, and I know this happened with you, was when researchers get together with researchers, you learn something new, So I took pages and pages of notes and found out some stuff I didn't even know before. Brett will tell a little bit more in the months ahead about a person that he connected with, has to do with the Roswell story and some other parts of the military things that were going on, because Roswell, at the time that the crash happened, was the one and only place all the nuclear bombardiers were located, because we only had one nuclear. We didn't have the ICBMs yet. We just had planes, and they were all in Roswell. So that was kind of interesting by itself. But it was like when a couple of researchers talked about, they couldn't figure out where the military grabbed this one guy from the Roswell, a witness that they wanted to talk to, the military wanted to talk to, and then they realized that they found out the restaurant where there used to be a cafe, and so they were still uncovering aspects of the case 70 years later, just because they're there and they've got some time to look around and compare notes, I know that you guys, I went through that with UFO Congress and Roswell, and I know that you have that happen too when you go to your events. You get a chance to compare notes.
Oh, yeah. I love these events. I have so much fun. And
it's been a lot of money, but it's a lot of fun. We had to change hotels. We couldn't even get a hotel in town. And then I checked when I came into town. I checked with a hotel, and a room, there had been a cancellation, but we were probably about a half hour drive away. We couldn't even come into town the first night because all the hotels were taken up. And so I've learned my lesson. Get the hotel months in advance for events like that, because, man, they go quick.
Yeah.
Get your reservation next week.
Too. They raise them way up.
Yeah, Our second hotel was kind of like expect Stephen King to be in the hotel room next door because there was a lightning storm outside, which was okay. It happens in New Mexico, but it brought all the spiders in. So we're like getting ready to go to bed, and all these spiders come into the door, and we're freaking out because probably because of the storm. It's like so we're swatting spiders and freaking out. So it wasn't that great of a place, But oh well, Didn't have a fridge, didn't have a coffee pot. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. No coffee pot. So fortunately, there was a drive-in gas station that had fresh coffee. I gotta have my coffee I have to have hot coffee even in the summer.
Sad. We stayed at this one place. Where was that? I think it was in San Francisco or LA or something. It was so filthy. I couldn't even walk in my hair.
Oh man, sometimes. Yeah, some places are just they're horrifying. Yeah, some places, if you weren't so dead tired, you wouldn't even stay there. You try not to touch anything and just go straight to bed and get up and leave as quick as possible. But yeah, it gets kind of gross sometimes. But a lot of the people were really nice. Most of the Roswell people love to have all the visitors and are just super polite and everything. We didn't have any rude people or anything. Just spiders. The hotel staff wasn't trying to let us know they were laughing at us for freaking out because they were thinking a few spiders. I was like, no, there was more than. It wasn't just one tiny, teeny spider. It was a number of them, and they weren't teeny tiny. So, they were laughing at us a little. But well, it's two girls. What can I say? But yeah. Go ahead.
This place that was the dive, we had booked another hotel, and when we got there, have a room, and they said, well, there's this other hotel, and they had a bunch of people there. They just overbooked. It was this was years ago.
Terrible. Oh, that's terrible.
And so 3 or 4 other people we're dragging our luggage and we're going to this other place.
Oh, that's horrible. And you guys didn't have a car because you guys fly in, so that's terrible.
Yeah.
We
had a cab. It was even before Uber. So we had a cab, and they had dropped us off, and then.
Oh,
no!
Shit. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Oh, man. And
the perils of traveling. Yeah.
You have to be careful. They're bumping people, and that was the way up the dive as well as the other place. It was nicer. So, disgusting. Anyway, there's travel horrors. So you got the spiders. We have spiders here all the time, but they're kind of trained because I have cats. So the spiders,
they know better.
They know better. If they have survived, they know better. Otherwise, they're gone. And the ones big are like 2, maybe. I think it to be about 3 years old. So the real big ones are about 3 years old.
Wow.
So they get here. They're called cane spiders. They can get the size of my hand. I have small hands.
I don't want to hear that. I want to think about it. I'm a little arachnophobic. Oh, no.
Size of a quarter up to like a 50-cent piece, and then their arms. Yeah, there's nothing more like than seeing a spider that large. And I remember when I first moved here, I was tired and in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I stand up and turn around to flush the toilet. And there's one that's the biggest one I've ever seen, where it had been tied to action.
Oh my God! Oh dear.
God.
Hey, Jenna, can I tell about 2 more events? Were you done talking about the MUFON and Symposium?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell your other things.
Well, because there's another event in July, and it's one that I found out through the New Mexico UFO and Paranormal Forum, a great organization from one of the organizers is Richard Smith, who we have interviewed before, and he has a second book, so we got to bring him back. But he, this group partnered with a organization up in Colorado, so it's just north of the border of New Mexico, over up into Colorado. It's at a place called the UFO Watchtower, and I had never heard of it. And if people want to know about this event, it's called UFO Watchtower Event or events.com. and it's Misha Johnson's going to be there. She's on the speaking docket. David Adair is going to be there, and of course it's got a beautiful, big wide sky and it's a hot spot. So there's camping. We're going to be one of the families camping up there, and getting a good sky watch besides the conference. So it's a sky watch and conference, and that would be the last weekend of July. So the first we're all coming home, so it's like the 29th, 30th, 31st, maybe it's the 30th and the 31st, I don't know, but check the dates on that. But if you go to UFOWatchtowerEvents.com, you'd be able to find out about the Cosmic Highway event or conference, and that's just going to be fun for us. We're just going to hang out and talk to everybody, and some of our friends from the New Mexico Paranormal Forum are going, so that's going to be fun. And then there's one in October, and that is the UFO Film Festival that's put on by Chuck Wade up in Gallup, New Mexico. Just Google those words, Gallup, New Mexico UFO Film Festival, Chuck Wade. And we're actually the speakers. Brett and I are the speakers. So this is our first solo gig where we're the only speakers. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We met with Chuck and Nancy, his wife, on our way out to our big trip out to Washington State and back. We met them on the way out in Gallup and got to see Chuck's pieces of a UFO. So if you want to see pieces of a UFO, he has pieces from the crash on the plains of St. Augustine, and they're pretty interesting. And he has films. I don't even know what the films are going to be. I'm going to try to find out what the films are going to be, but I think we're going to submit one next year, not this year, but next year, because we're going to revisit our topic about some of the embedded imagery, ancient legends on the far side of the moon. We did some YouTube videos of it, but we're going to put it together and make a documentary because we've discovered more things since then of some of the imagery that embedded imagery Brett found, Brett Shepard, my partner, found in NASA images. And, of course, now he's been able to correlate his findings with looking at Ken's, collection, and he's working on a book right now called Digital Moon, and we're hoping he'll have it done by then. So that'll be our, grand opening of his new book, unveiling. Digital Moon, he's been working on it for 4 years, but he keeps getting new information, and I think he's at a good stopping point. He can now finish the thing, You know how it is doing research. You guys have the same problem as there's more, and it's hard to find a stopping point. But I think he's put a cap on it with his work with Ken. And so he's going to finish. We've got someone helping him edit it because I'm a burnt out editor, and also I can't tell Brett what's wrong with it because he's too sensitive with me. I'm his woman. He can't hear it from me. So we've got a dispassionate third party, a nice lady that we met who's helping him, and he's also had some of it reviewed by some other people too. So he's had a bunch of eyeballs on it. It's a much anticipated book because we literally will be going into exactly how they obfuscated, the NASA imagery over the years, because he's discovered quite a few different methods, anywhere from direct painting out things in the sky. When we went to the moon, there was UFOs watching us. That's and William Tompkins backed that up for everybody. And drew pictures of them. These space shuttle-y looking UFOs all around Apollo 11 when the Eagle landed, There's all kinds of weird stuff in the sky we now know. So they, blacked out the sky and just told us that, you can't see the stars because there's too much contrast. And that's baloney because when you look at Ken's stuff, and you go to KenJohnsonMedia.com and you press the link for the archive, you can go look at these. Anyone can go look at these themselves, and if you find something, tell us, But basically, no, they painted out the sky to hide inconvenient stuff, inconvenient objects in the sky. I actually personally found in one of Ken's images, I found something that looked like the Moonraker base from the movie, the James Bond movie. And it looks like a base, up in the sky, and they painted the whole sky, but whoever was painting over that one day painted around it, So they were rebelling that day, or they were going to show it to somebody official and then paint over it and send it on to the slide duplicator service. But they missed it, and it got sent to the slide duplicator service. Bunches of duplicates got made, and they had these 4 packs of slides that were sold at the NASA gift shop right during the Apollo era. And Ken bought a pack of 4 slides. This wasn't even the exotic stuff that was in the NASA collection. This was in the gift shop. And it was so small, being a slide, nobody noticed that it had something weird in the sky. So what happened was, I guess when they were digitizing all the images to put on the digital catalog of NASA, current era, somebody found it and they painted over it. But so that's one way. They just painted over stuff. They smudged stuff. And then in the later iterations of covering anomalies, they used CGI and other things. So, Brett's going to come out with all the different ways that was done, and I think that'll be really fascinating for people. So we're hoping that at this conference in Gallup, New Mexico, and then if you do go to Gallup, you have to get a Navajo taco. That's like the best. There's a place called what's the place called? Oh, I can't think of the guy's name, but it's they have the best Navajo tacos. They're so good. So that's the other reason why we go to Gallup, to make sure we go. But Earl's Family Diner, that's it. Yeah, and then when you're sitting there, people will try to sell you turquoise jewelry and silver jewelry, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun place, and it's authentic if you go into a place to get a Navajo taco and there's a bunch of Navajo people in it. Right? They themselves are eating dinner there, so it's fairly authentic. So it was really good. So that's what's going on. Is there anything else after the MUFON Symposium that you guys are going to?
Well, in October, we're going to be doing a Tantra series. We originally were Tantra teachers when Dr. Lessin and I met 20 years ago this year. And we've had people requesting us come out of retirement, kind of retired for a while, but we have a whole certification level of five different levels of certification. Dr. Lessin is a college professor, so he had this very organized, and we're going to go and teach this younger couple. They're in their 30s or something like that, and pass the baton on to them. My beloved incredible husband turned 77 on Sunday. So we just realized that unless they come up with some of those alternatives for expanding our life expectancies, we better start passing this information on. And this young couple, their name's Melanie and Scott McClure, they came to Maui for vacation. They called us and they said, "We want to meet with you." And they invited us for lunch. I said, "Sure, I can't pass a free lunch. Come on, let's go have lunch." And we all just love each other. We're just, it's like the kids we never had. And so we're going to do a weekend starting October 27th. And it's a 2.5-day weekend. And then we're going to be hanging out. And I guess this will be the closest thing I've ever had to a vacation. I'm sure I'll be working the whole time. We're looking to book private sessions with people when we're in the Austin area. So between the Workshop 1, which ends on the 29th, and Workshop 2 that starts November 3rd, which Scott and Melanie are going to teach, called Sexual Empowerment, and our session is called Celebrate Sacred Sexuality. And then that ends on the 5th of November, and we're going to stay till like Thursday. I'm looking at it, since I will be on the mainland, I might go to Star Works, which is Paula Harris's event. So not sure, but we're going to be there, and we're going to maximize our time. Our specialty, we can teach do Tantra classes with people. We like to work with couples. That's our specialty. We can also do hypnosis, regression for people who want to do their childhood and cultural conditioning and religious reprogramming, and also people who are experiencers and they want to go into their, cosmic encounters and paranormal mysteries and unravel what was going on for them. And many of these encounters are multi-layered. You might have a conscious memory of something, like I saw a light in the sky, and then you realize, well, there was missing time, or there's something more. You know, this missing time thing is, I think, a design of the extraterrestrials. They have you miss time so you become aware that something happened. But they can actually return you to when they took you. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. Some people, one lady was talking about being gone for a couple of days, and she was her missing time was only 5 or 10 minutes, you know. And it was like, whoa, you know, I think you're right. If you didn't miss any time, you wouldn't know something happened. So maybe that's true. Maybe they do give you that sense of missing time so that you'll maybe have a regression and remember something. That makes sense.
Yes. So if you know, don't have missing time and you still have a feeling, a gut feeling that there's more to that than what I recalled, don't hesitate to, you know, if I were you, go get a regression and find out what's underneath that. So we're available for those type of things, and we love working with people. For me, it's like, who wants television or a movie or even a book? You can work with people when you get into what's going on with their stories. It's a fascinating process to, you know, go under hypnosis. And some people are freaked out about hypnosis, and they go, I can't be hypnotized. Well, everybody's hypnotized all the time. You know, when you're driving your car, you're in like an altered, self-induced hypnotic state, because you're not, like, paying attention to every nuance of everything that happens when you go into a movie theater. You're really hypnotized. You watch television. You're listening to music. So we're probably hypnotized more often than not in our lives, you know, for years if you add it all up. But what all you're doing is you're allowing yourself to relax and be facilitated and directed into your subconscious and superconscious, and connect with your guides and all levels of existence, and deliver the messages that you have for yourself, because most people are just so busy getting input from the universe, you know, from all these media and distractions, and very few slow down and allow the cosmic forces and God and, you know, spirituality to come into you, your downloads to come into you and receive those and integrate that and deconstruct them and figure out what the message you're trying to tell yourself. So that's what we're doing there. We're very excited. And then I just heard about an event in Yelm, Washington, at the end of this July. So since we're already there, I'm going to see if that's possible. I'm going to talk to the organizer.
That's my old stomping grounds, man. I wish I could go if I wasn't going to the super thing, because I used to live in Olympia. So, yeah, that's the Awakening Center out there. I got a chance to see Andy a couple of times and Alfred Weber a couple of times, Andrew Bishago and Alfred Weber speak in Yelm, Washington a couple of times. So I know exactly where you're going to be. If I think that's the same which event it is.
This is what happened. As soon as you said the word Andy, he popped up on my Skype, literally.
Oh, he does that. He's a time traveler. He does that. Oh, yeah. No, Yelm is I guess they're going to have a UFO festival for the first time in Yelm, right? Is that what I understand?
That's what it seems like it's evolving to. So I don't know if I can make this happen. I should probably do a GoFundMe. I'm going to see if it's possible we could present or do something. But it's very exciting, and so we're going to be doing that if we can. If not, we're going to come home. You know, wherever I go, it's interesting. I never have a dull moment. Karen, you feel like the same way. Like, what?
I don't do boredom at all, because I want to know stuff. So Brett and I are constantly looking at stuff, learning a new aspect of something. Brett just came in to tell me an hour or two ago. He said if people remember Maria Orsich, who was the channeler who got the information about how to make the real craft. Well, he decided to look up who her father was. And her father turned out to be a scientist who worked with Victor Schauberger, who did all the work on vortex energy, and he was one of the other ones that was discovering this vortex energy that they think UFOs run on. And this scientist, Orsic Sr., the father, also worked with Nikola Tesla. They all worked together out there in Croatia for a while. Isn't that insane? That's amazing. So there was a lot of activity that happened in between, after the First World War and before the Second World War. There was a lot going on that we don't know a lot about because, how much do Americans know about history anyway? But there's this alternative history. There's a history you didn't hear in history class, And so that's one of our research areas is alternative history. So we're always trying to put these pieces together, and we just go on our hunches because we'll get the hunch to do that. Like, who was her parents, is what he decided to look up, and that's when he discovered that. And we follow our intuition a lot, and it leads us into some amazing connections. And then I'm trying to figure out, why did Tesla leave Croatia if he was right in the middle of that hotbed of research? Why did he decide to come to America? So that's something I'm like, did he get an offer that we don't know about to come to America, or did he, we don't know.
America was the think tank of the world in those days. And
truly, yeah.
He couldn't stay away because that's where
it was where they were, Edison was putting up electricity everywhere, and it was a happening place for all that. Little did Nikola Tesla know that he would be shut down. I mean, he came and gave us alternating current, which was different than the DC current, and it won out, so we still have alternating current to this day. And he invented the radio, and they said Marconi did, but it was actually Tesla. And he gave us the radio telescope. Brett did a presentation in Mobile about the results of pointing that radio telescope at Mars when it was at the closest pass in 1924, and it picked up sounds from Mars. So he was a genius for several eras, and a genius for several planets. I think he was amazing. But unfortunately, we didn't listen to him. We should have listened. We'd have free energy. We'd have probably flying around in UFO cars. It'd be a different world for sure.
He had his opposition, and he had a very interesting life. I read his bio. He was best friends with a couple, and I think the woman was in love with him, and his sexuality was questionable because he didn't appear to be, I don't know. I can't remember both. It was years ago.
They have a category of sexuality called asexuality with the letter A in front of the word sexuality, and it means somebody who is just not into physical sexuality because they're so busy with other things in their life and they don't have that interest. And he was so intelligent, he just might have been so enraptured in his inventions that he just didn't have time for it, or maybe he had a type of situation where he could be out with some aspect of himself because of, how things were back then, who knows,
He appeared to have a flirtation with the woman in this couple, which was okay for everybody was okay with it. It was a very, very interesting book. Here, since I read it, don't quote me, I could have this all wrong, but I remember there was something peculiar, and and the husband, everybody just loved him. It was like their dear, dear friend, and nobody was cheating, but it was just they respected each other tremendously, he and this couple and the woman. And so
that sounds like sapiosexuality is when people are attracted to the intelligence in each other.
Right, and that seemed to be satisfying for him. All he needed to do was to meet with them and have a meal once a week and all that stuff. And then I know he loved his birds. He was in this apartment in New York or something, and he had these animals and birds or something he fed. He was a very, very, I don't think he was human. I just look at it, there was questions about where his soul originated from. He came in, was just so against everybody. Crazy man.
He came in with so much intelligence and way too much intellectual power for the times, for being an immigrant, for hitting up against those industrialists who were creating our control matrix, which we're still under, with still using petroleum. Like, if we'd have listened to him, we wouldn't be doing petroleum for our energy, and I actually wrote a poem. I won't read it; it's really long. But it was a poem about Nikola Tesla, and where his focus was, and what he was trying to do was give us, power generation right where we're at. Because right now we have fuel production somewhere, and then we pump it into our gas, and we have hydroelectric dams, which is and power plants. But by the time it comes down to where we're at, right, like where we're needed, we don't necessarily have that. Although we could have small-scale solar, and I have a flashlight I can charge my phone on that, it's powered by the sun, and I can plug my phone in and get a charge for my phone, with it. So I mean, our whole energy thinking that we have needs to be rethought. But he had it. He gave us the solution. We just didn't take that option. He built that facility at Wardenclyffe in New York. I guess a nonprofit organization purchased that and are going to make a museum out of it. I would go in a heartbeat. I would love to see it. And also, I'm going to be up in Hooper, Colorado, and of course he was experimenting in Colorado Springs, also with energy solutions. So, we get sent this information of how to change our society all the time. We either get a super smart genius to tell us what we need to know, or people get downloads, or people get told by contacts. Aliens keep telling us. We get crop circles. Some people believe crop circles are related to energy alternatives and the toroidal energy of space. And we could literally, I do believe, turn our society around very quickly if we just adopted the ideas that we keep given. We get given it over and over again. It's like someone trying to give you $1 million or a gift, and you keep refusing it out of stupidity and prejudice, and it's really a gift that they're trying to give us, and they've been trying to do this for quite some time. Some people even think that they crashed their craft on the planet on purpose to give us their craft that is run on those kind of energies.
The blowers that I've interviewed, a couple of them have said that they were delivered. They were purposely, because we're so egotistical, we couldn't imagine. We would have been suspicious if it was delivered, right? So crash. It's like, okay, well, we can go. We're so smart. We took them down. We crashed them. Ha ha ha. No, not. So they delivered these, and I talked to one whistleblower, and he's now deceased. And in his last few interviews, he said, they wanted us to accelerate and become conscious and join the Federation, and ascend and evolve, and become enlightened. And the other one that told us about that was Sir Lawrence Spencer with the other Roswell story. What was it called? Roswell or Alien Interview. It's called Alien Interview. That's the name of it. And the gray that survived, that they had in captivity, she was actually an avatar. That wasn't a real. I mean, it was really.
Yeah, there were EB bodies, but their consciousness came in from somewhere else.
Right. So she said that she had her consciousness that they projected down into their avatars, just like the movie Avatar, by the way, people. Just go rewatch that. So when she decided to leave, it looked like the body died, but they just left because, that was just their avatar. But she basically said that somewhere there was a group of Greys that came and colonized it couldn't be the Dropa or something. It was.
It was in China. Yeah, in China.
Okay. Yeah, and then they were killed off, and then they became trapped in this cycle. The prison planet. This is a prison planet. We can't really escape it when we die, and so they wanted to help humanity, but they also have a selfish intent. Is that they want the 1,000 souls that are their souls. That they're people that are trapped in this birth, life, death, recycling in this negative paradigm, and they want to free their people. So they think that if they can accelerate consciousness here on the Earth, that will help us develop a system to free everybody. So hopefully they're right. But as
I could buy that, because I feel like, the part of me that probably came from somewhere else, when I was just a little kid, like I was like 5 years old, I was already going, what have I gotten myself into as far as coming onto this planet? I was like, it didn't work right, and I thought, where would I get the idea that civilization was somehow managed better? Or at the time when I was 5, it was the 1960s, so we had all the protests of the wars, and we had the Vietnam War going on in that era, and when I began to understand what a war was, exactly, it was like, there's just something seriously wrong with this planet, and I'm just a 5-year-old, and it's like, how would I feel that way if I didn't have a comparison somewhere in my spirit, in my eternal self, that knew that whatever we have here on Earth doesn't quite work right, because that'd be an odd thing to think. If you woke up every day for 5 years and the world was always that way, why would you think it was something wrong with it? And I thought about that a long time, and then later when I discovered that we're, eternal beings, reincarnating and multi-incarnating in some cases, then I go, oh, okay, then I did have a comparison. I did have other places I came from, or I had visited or incarnated in or whatever, because a body is a space suit, right? It's an Earth suit. It's a chance to come here and be here and eat the food, and just like going on vacation, right? Eat the food, right. Get into the culture, look at the pretty mountains and whatever's here. But you get here, and it's like going on vacation in a war zone, not so much fun. You arrive somewhere, and the city goes under siege. That's not so great. And, so the perfect, apparently the EBEs project their consciousness into these, EBE means extraterrestrial biological entity. And this is something we haven't discussed. I haven't discussed with you and Sasha at length, but I've been thinking about it because it seemed like, we talk about the Anunnaki, they seem to try on bodies like clothes, like they have the famous picture of Inky, and he's a merman, and he has a tail, and he's swimming around in the ocean. Well, if you could have a designer body, why wouldn't you? You could put on a fish body and go down and swim around, or you could get some wings and fly around. I mean, if you have master geneticists and they were able to project their consciousness into any body that they wanted to, we know that we do that already in video games, right? People avatar into being all kinds of things in video games, and that's our first taste of virtuality and doing that. But if our technology keeps developing, in terms of virtuality and genetics and stuff like that, we would do that. I would do that. If somebody said I could be a mermaid for the day, I'd totally do that. I love the ocean. So I mean, I think we're in this idea of you got one spirit that goes into one body, and that's it. But reincarnation is, you get to be in different bodies at different times. And then the idea of avataring in is that you get to be same consciousness, but you get to have a body for the purpose of whatever it is you're trying to do or want to do. It's a scary thought to a lot of people that are really into the idea that you have this one mortal body and you better straighten up and fly right, or else you'll go to an eternal heaven or eternal hell. I think the idea that we could try on bodies like clothes is probably pretty nerve-wracking. You know?
Yeah. That Ningishita taught, he was discovered the Galzu, which is an advanced species that they're like the Watchers. They're called the Watchers. And they have the halls of Menti, and the interdimensionally you go underground, and you go interdimensionally, and they watch over these different planets, and they have their agents on all the spheres and everywhere in the universe. Well, they taught him to break his form down to its molecular structure, and to learn that it's the mind, that we ourselves are the one that make these bodies and keep them in form. So then you have the whole concept of shapeshifters. Some species they can actually shift their physical form, or they can send the illusion of being in a different form, or they can, like in the movie Avatar, send their consciousness down into other forms. They might be the geneticist that designs the form and then lays down and puts their consciousness into it and can come and go at will. We're so limited by our perceptions, and we just need to think outside of the box, and anything we can image or imagine is possible. So I always invite people, it blows my mind when I see people going into a box, right? And I talk to a lot of brilliant people, but for some reason I think outside of the box. And I'll watch them get into a box and trap themselves, emotionally and intellectually, and then I'll go, well, that's all well. And, fine and dandy if you want to go there, but how about this? And that's what I like about you, Karen. You think outside of the box, too. And you're very creative. You have these terms these words you make up, and you break them down. And so that's part of the interesting game that we play. So I guess cautioning our listeners, when you find yourself in a box, there's always a way out of it, around it, through it, past it, over it. There are things outside the box. So
you're the one keeping yourself in it. Really, it's you're driving that bus. You're the one that, I wouldn't say put yourself in the box, because I think we arrive on Earth and we get programmed by society to think a certain way, and this is reality. And boy, did I see that as a Roswell thing, because you have every kind of opinion and person there. Everyone's there. So it's all different cultural backgrounds. We have people attacking the Roswell thing from that debunkery science thing. So if they can't accept aliens and a crash, which the evidence is pretty darn overwhelming, then what else can they think of? And Nick Redfern was there, and his book is The Roswell Conspiracy, and I did buy a copy because I want to see what other people think. And he said it was a cover-up for a nuclear accident, and that the government uses the UFO beliefs as a way to cover up things that they're doing. So if they have a new test plane that they're flying around, then they'll let people think it's a UFO, so that they can do whatever they need to do over Groom Lake or someplace where they do test these craft, and then they use a UFO question. But, I mean, for some people, that is the only thing the UFO thing is just a conspiracy to use the UFO question as a way to hide stuff that the government doesn't want you to know about. And there's another researcher, Norio Hayakawa, who lives in New Mexico, so I run into him from time to time, and that's what he says the Dulce base was, that there was a underground accident of a nuclear type thing, and that they used the wild story about aliens and a fight underneath the base there underground as a cover-up story for a nuclear accident. So, the nuclear aspect or part of our history and ufology are tied together. There's a book called UFO and Nukes by Robert Hastings. He doesn't believe that, he thinks that there's a correlation between actual, real, unidentified craft that are probably from extraterrestrial origin and the connection with all things nuclear, starting from the testing. Actually, when we go from Berlin, New Mexico to Roswell, we go past the Trinity site, actually. We go past where they exploded the first bomb. And I went to a rock shop there nearby, and I got a little tiny piece of trinitite, and that was the glass. The sand was heated up so hot that it turned into glass at the time that the blast happened, and there's just a small amount of it. I got a little tiny chip of it, smaller than a dime, and it cost me $20 because there's only that. Well, I was looking at it, what was left, but I got a little piece of history right there, and I'm not going to store it anywhere near where I sleep. I don't run a Geiger counter. I don't have a Geiger counter on it, but I feel like I'm pretty safe. But it was interesting because I was getting the history. This lady handed me when you buy the trinitite, you get a 2-page or like 3 or 4-page history of the whole nuclear bombs, and from that time on, it seems like the United States, our nuclear facilities, our ICBM sites, stuff that happened in Russia, as we've proliferated nukes or whatever, we've attracted a lot of attention from our visitors, became much more visiting us and checking us out, and like Stanton Friedman said, hey, the kiddies got into the matches, Stanton Friedman was, of course, an engineer, nuclear engineer, so he got into this and really makes that correlation between how concerned our visitors got. It really wanted us to have a consciousness raising, because we're either going to, ascend and grow and become a mature race, of civilization, or we're not going to be around anymore. And so that's like a thing. Wherever you find considerable aspects of the nuclear history, are playing around with that, you find the story of UFOs and Bigfoot too. By the way, Bigfoot is also seen around wherever UFOs are at. So Brett got to get a report from a Bigfoot researcher talking about that part of the story too. Is that Bigfoot might in fact be like Chewbacca in Star Wars, was a member of a race of big hairy beings that were spacefaring, and in fact some of them might actually be. I have one good researcher friend named Ross Curley who really truly believes that they're brought here by UFOs to do kind of like field exercises, and training. At least some of the population, maybe not all of it. So that's a whole. So all this paranormal stuff ties together, and I'm always surprised when people don't recognize that. But the psychic ability, ET contact, interdimensional contact, telekinesis, and all the different giftings of humanity. The Bigfoot story, cryptozoology, it's all tied together, and it's all because of aspects of consciousness which are prevalent science still pushes away, and says, is it real, that we're all crazy and that there's no connection, and I get really tired of debunkers. I didn't last in that room very long with all those debunkers talking, because it was like they didn't have anything new. They didn't disprove anything to me,
I wouldn't have gone in there. You're braver than I am, going to.
Oh my gosh! I missed Michael Heiser by minutes. Like the Sitchin is wrong guy was there, and I missed him coming in and out. But I wasn't going to stick around to say hi. But this is a guy who's debunked Zecharia Sitchin after he's dead, of course, so he can't defend himself, and he basically has poo-pooed everything that Sitchin said about the translation of the Sumerian text. And I don't know, man, that would have been an interesting conversation because I'm loaded for bear now after being around you guys. I know quite a bit now, I disagree with him, of course. And I even asked, I didn't ask him by name, but I asked Neil Freer when he was still with us about the Sitchin is wrong concept, and he said, well, and this was true, it's turned out to be true, is that this was people who have a vested interest in a very, very narrow and particular interpretation of the Bible, and so they're religious people who can't have the Sumerian story be a real history. They need it to be mythology, and Brett and I have run into this before about Greek myth, right? Greek mythology, and the thing about it is it wasn't Greek and it wasn't mythology. It's actually the Greeks. It was their religion, but it was based on earlier history. And it was exactly that. It was a suppressed and hidden history that the Catholic Church it predates their Adam and Eve story. So they've been, hiding those records and all that information for a long time. So yeah, basically, Mr. Heiser makes part of his income from being writing books about the Bible or being a Bible commentary writer. I'm not exactly sure what he does, but he's, that's how he makes his money, and so he's defending it. The worship of the Bible, what I call it, the worship of the book thing. Because what I found out, and this, we're just wandering all over the place, so I'll jump into the fact that in the last few times I've been not allowed to speak anywhere. I have talked about my upbringing in fundamentalist religion and how I kind of had to deprogram myself from it. And one of the things I realized is the Bible is a library. It has got 66 books in the Protestant Bible, more than that in the Catholic Bible, and it should be called the library with a few books missing, So when you realize there's so many of the texts were based on other, religious, it was like a Reader's Digest version of a lot of other texts, and then you go find those original texts and read them, you get more of the story. And, of course, I've learned a lot from you guys on your wonderful website, InkySpeaks.com, which I had a few stacks of cards left. I handed them out to everybody. I have no more cards left. Yeah, you'll have to give me some more, because I tell everybody about Inky Speaks because it became a really important research tool for me, trying to understand who all these beings were. And you guys have all of them by name. You can look up Marduk. You can look up Inky and Enlil. Oh, tell everybody about your new book, Marduk, King of the Earth. I've just started reading that, and I've just started reading 5 books. I'm gonna have to pick one and follow all the way through because I've bought so many books at all these conferences, man.
Yeah, I do that too. I get real, spread thin. But we're continuing to do the Anunnaki series, and we're going to flesh out the individual characters. I thought I let my husband decide which direction to go first, and he picked Marduk for some reason, and so he gathered that together and started it, and then I entered into the research, and we compiled things and formatted the book, and we got it out before, IUFO Congress. That I didn't like the cover so much. I mean, it's a nice cover, but I had a better idea, so I came and redesigned it. So if you have, like the book you have, there's a limited edition of those because I redesigned the cover. But it's a very interesting cover, and let me get one of the copies, and I'll read the back. Okay.
If people want to know, they go to aquarianradio.com and they can get a copy of this book. And I'm going to have to stop going to conferences for a while and just read. I've got to catch up on my reading because I have so much reading to do, and it's been really hot in here in New Mexico. I think what I'm going to do is get a good reading lamp in my room with the one good air conditioner in it and just sit and do summer reading in the late afternoon because it's too hot to do anything anyway. And I've got William Tompkins' book. I've got your book. I've got Nick Redfern I'll be reading. I mean, my reading list is – I usually run through my reading list and I don't have anything for a while. And I've got like 10 books I got to read now. So, yours is on there, that Marduk book. I like the cover, but, you guys have to be 100% happy with it, but I happen to like it. So I got a rare book already. That's a collector's item now.
Same with Legacy. I had a cover, because you need to get it to press and get it out there if you're going to go to the conference. So I probably had about 50 copies of the Legacy cover number 1, and then I read the Legacy cover number 2. But it's similar to the one you have. I just changed the tag. I found a different tag. That's all. It's pretty much the same. So anyway, if you go to Amazon.com, you'll see it, and it's about Marduk, who is the king of the earth. He's the one that, that won all the one-upmanship and ended up being the king. Apparently, there's a reconstruction now. We're running out of time on this show, but Karen might enlighten us a little about what's happening with the Linkage Institute and A.R. Borden. So there's some information that's emerging now.
The person to follow would be Wes Penry. He's on top of it about as good as anybody I know. And what he had said was Nanar is now the king.
That's what he said. I don't really know how to. I like to know where people are getting the information. So I don't know where he's getting the information, but I'm like a reporter, and I like to see things that have at least two validations, right? And so
it's very difficult sometimes to get it. Yeah, I know what you mean. Though that is the right way to do a story, is to try to get multiple, aspects of it. When I get a piece of information on a download or automatic writing or something like that, I try to go find out if I can validate it in other research somewhere else, and I'm always pleased when I find another mention of the same factoid. That's helpful to me. Yeah.
So I haven't interviewed Wes, so I can't really 100% say where he. I like to get where's your source. What are you getting from? And it's okay. I'm okay with someone saying it's channeled or, what we have a lot. What's going on in our field is the second level, right? The first person died, and they're getting the second level, the second or third generation of the information. And you know how when you play that old telephone game, you whisper in the ear or whatever, and you go around a circle. Every time you turn around, it goes to another translator, just like the Bible. There's always a really subtle warping. And I think that was that you mentioned Michael Heisner. I think he was like splitting hairs with what things mean, because there's this warping of the different words. You can have different interpreters reading. They all know how to interpret from English to Spanish, but they might read something, and depending on the person doing the translation, they suddenly change the meaning. And, take that times 1,000 years, and there's no way to know the truth.
That's why the best you can do is see what the pattern is, or the proof is in the pattern. In other words, if you have one person says it, but then several other people say something kind of close, you look at the several data points that are similar and say, okay, really, on most of what we are looking into, it would be really difficult, and we acknowledge that, to get scientific proof. But then science has this one requirement that you have to repeat. Something has to be repeatable. Like, we have to be able to repeat it, not that it happens more than once, or we've got to be able to repeat it in a lab or something like that. And that's a little bit too stringent of a, proof capacity for pretty much most of what we deal with. So, for me, is I want to look at patterns,
It's pretty impossible to prove just about anything. I mean, you can repeat things. I mean, you better repeat that a million times. Anyways, but with the validation from a bunch of people believing it, we have over 1 billion people that believe in Christianity. Does that make it right? And then you have another 1 billion people that believe in,
I don't know.
And 1 billion people who have the Confucianism. So it's because a lot of people believe it, and there's a pattern. That's
true.
It's a personal truth. You can only. So I always invite people to go within and anchor to your own emotions. Does it serve you? Does it serve your family, your friends, your world? If it serves to the highest degree all people, then that might be the truth, because that's where we all find the win for all. But even that's almost impossible to do, except in small community groups. And that's when you get your little groups. You have your groupings. So I think we're just about done with this show. We're at the end. What would you like to say?
I wanted to mention one other thing, is that to remind people, too, since we were talking about books, about the anthology book that we did, and then we've got one coming out, an Experiencer anthology book. We might as well talk about that a minute or two.
Okay, yes. Well, I got the first one together in short order. Everybody sent in a bunch of articles, people that are interested. But this one I'm focusing on people who have had extraterrestrial. They actually met extraterrestrials, not lights in the sky, or they felt somebody come in the room. And those things we do examine. I'm just looking for people who have had more like 3D encounters with extraterrestrials, someone that they can identify. And I know, Karen, you've had the encounter with an Anunnaki, and so I'm looking for those types of stories. And I have a number of stories. I have to slow down and really qualify these stories, and then some people are better at editing, and so I have a group that I'm kind of bogged down a little bit with editing and
that's always true of books.
And so I could use some, and I'm waiting for people. It's like, okay, well, I've interviewed you, and you're the type of encounter I'm looking for the second book, and can you get me your story? So it's taking a little while. So
yeah.
I was going to get this in time for the MUFON symposium, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, if people want to know about the first one, it's at aquarianradio.com, and that's one of the other ones. I got to read everybody else. I've got a couple stories in there, but I got to read everybody else's, so that's on my reading list too, to read everybody else's. And I think it's a great idea. And I do want to take a couple minutes to do one other thing, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of been a secret project here for a while, but Brett and I created a business entity, a publishing and media business. It is called Portals of Knowing. And we now have a website, and we're getting all those kinds of things together, portalsofknowing.com. And this is to put out books and media pertaining to our research. We also have a page on there of our author friends, you and Sasha and everybody that we have there's pages on the website for our author friends. We have audio that we've been involved with, video that we've been involved with. We've got a blog. We're going to be porting over articles from a blog of our research, and we finally pulled it together and became like a branded thing that we could help them remember. And it came from the name came from when I was doing automatic writing, and I wrote this phrase down, or I heard this phrase in my head, and then I wrote it down. The portals of knowing are opening. The portals of knowing are opening. Beware to the gatekeepers who won't give way. And I think it's exciting because it's talking about this new renaissance that we're really happening, where all this new information is coming out on the internet, but it's also training and sparking people to go within and find that truth within, like you were just saying earlier. So we're real excited about that, and I hope people will check it out because we have a lot of material on there already. We also put resources like all kinds of websites where we go to get our research, to look up things that we need to find out for our research. So it is a lot of stuff on it already on this website. I think people will really enjoy it.
Excellent. So I just want to say, if you do have a story, send it to us at aquarianradio@gmail.com, aquarianradio@gmail.com. And Karen, I'll have to take a look at your website. I know you've been working on it. It wasn't a secret for me, but you told me. But now,
well, I mean, yeah, you know about it because you're my friend. But yeah, we're going to have like a grand opening of it at the beginning of October. That's because that's we're doing that speaking engagement and stuff. So we'll be doing Twitter and Facebook and all those kinds of things to tell people about it in a bigger way at the beginning of September probably, because we just Brett and I have we're gonna do this no matter what. On the aspect that we never get bored is we never stop researching, so we might as well have a place to share it. So it's a good place to do it.
That's exciting! I can't wait to see. So when you get it done, you're ready to launch it. Make sure I get the link. I think we're done with our show. It's time to say goodbye to everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week, and we will be back again next week. I think Yes.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody, and we'll see what we're going to do next week. But, yeah, thanks for listening to our catch-up show.
Okay. Let's love it. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Aquarian Radio Friday nights, The Experiencer Path. Thanks to the artists from freemusicarchive.org, Ketsa for Live With No Fear, and Scott Holmes, Mother Nature. You have been listening to the Aquarian Radio Network.
Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.